The learning objectives for the third module of Leading with Emotional Intelligence series are presented on your screen. If you've not completed the first two modules first, please pause the video at this point to do so now. As in the other trainings, please have a sheet of paper to collect your thoughts and to record answers to the practice questions, as we refer to them later in this training. Jack is a manager who tries hard to be a good boss. He's very intuitive about people and social systems, and he's remarkably self-aware. But despite all his competence in being perceptive, Jack still gets emotionally hijacked when his workers are upset. He responds emotionally, even when he knows it's because he's under pressure or feeling defensive. Then all the emotions in the room get magnified, and small, simple issues become big ones. Jack has great perception, but he has no skills in managing his or other people's emotions. He has only half of the emotional intelligence, knowledge that he needs. Jack could benefit from learning about the two EQ domains associated with skills. These include the techniques needed to improve competency in self-management and social skills. Time to reflect. Negative emotions, especially from a leader, can have a big impact in the workplace. In your work, what have you experienced as negative effects of not controlling emotions? Some of the negative effects of not controlling emotions include angry outbursts, slamming doors, email venting, social withdrawal, grudges, unwarranted criticism, sarcasm, or inappropriate humor, and playing the victim. Take a moment and think about yourself. How do you think you can better control your emotions in the workplace? Are there any strategies or techniques you can use to try to manage how you feel? A few more questions to ponder. Which emotions do you often feel? How do your emotions affect you at work and at home? What do you usually do to try to manage your emotions? How effective is this? What techniques do you think you could use to control your emotions? To avoid such negative effects, you need the skills of self-management. These skills include controlling feelings and impulses and being able to adapt to changing circumstances. Controlling emotions is the fundamental competency in self-management domain. This ability comes after you can identify your emotions and the reasons for them, which are the competencies in the self-perception domain. To help control your emotions, you can use several techniques. You can interrupt negative patterns with logic by first identifying a pattern of anticipated the worst. Then you can stop it. You can run your fears past an objective observer or say, "There I go again," when you discover yourself thinking negatively. You can reduce stress through self-care, such as healthy eating, exercise, timeouts, and relaxation techniques, or through more extensive efforts such as getting a new job or leaving a bad relationship. You can talk through the problem with a third party, someone you trust. Emotional issues difficult to work out on your own can be clarified through discussions with a spouse, friend, coworker, or mentor. You can write a letter or an email you don't plan on sending. By expressing your emotions in writing, you can release the emotional charge. Just be sure you don't send it inadvertently. This is an example of how to use the techniques for controlling emotions. In a utility company, a big cross-functional project is underway. Deadlines are looming and supervisors are upset. One department manager is having some problems at home. Interrupt negative patterns. Mary finds herself saying there's no way she can possibly meet her deadlines. Recognizing her negative pattern, she remembers that she always says that, and yet she always manages to meet the deadlines. She manages to almost laugh at her fears and realizes they're not likely to come true. Reduce stress. Jake is in charge of scheduling meetings and training. Juggling the schedules of 5 managers and the department head is stressful. He finds himself getting a headache, so he takes a time out and leaves the building for a short walk in the nearby park. Talking through things. Amy's having some personal problems at home, which she knows is making her more emotional than usual. She invites a trusted coworker to lunch to talk things through. Amy asks her friend to hold her accountable to follow through on the changes they talked about. Write down your feelings. Time after time, Bob's supervisor raises minor objections about his work. Bob knows the micromanagement is an emotional trigger for him, but he still gets furious. He controls himself when she does it again by having a plan to address his anger. He handwrites a letter that explains what he really thinks about the situation. Then he tears it up into tiny little pieces. Self-control techniques are only part of controlling emotions. However, as a leader, you don't have a solitary work life. You have to deal with other people every day. So you need interpersonal techniques for controlling emotions. Interpersonal techniques include letting other people explain themselves first in a disagreement, honestly expressing emotions, discussing the reasons for them, and searching for solutions, and taking responsibility for your actions and feelings. Have you ever used any of these techniques in your job? If so, how did using them help them to control your emotions? And what was the outcome? If not, do any of your work colleagues use these techniques, and to what effect? Take a moment to write down your thoughts to these questions. Anne is a manager who's been informed of a dispute. A team member, Kelly, received an email from her team lead that made her upset, so she brought it to Anne's attention. Read the conversation on your screen as Anne discusses the issues with the team lead, Tom. Continue to read the rest of the dialogue example situation. Anne provided good leadership to Tom, controlling her own emotions and helping Tom control his. Anne used the technique of letting him explain himself first, which allowed her to cultivate empathy and understand Tom's perspective before reacting. Anne also expressed her emotions and got Tom to do the same. They explored the underlying reasons and searched for solutions. After that, Tom clearly took responsibility for his actions and feelings. When you can understand and manage your own emotions, you can move on to mastering the fundamental skills in the social domain. Social skills are useful for your interactions as a leader, and they also help you increase EQ of those you lead. In the social skills domain, the fundamental competency is having the ability to facilitate. Facilitating refers to the skill of recognizing how to meet the needs of others, and then meeting those needs. Facilitating involves three main techniques. You can use evocative comments, let people express themselves and participate in what's happening, and keep people informed. Evocative comments focus on the why or how of behavior, not the what. These comments bring out the reasons behind behaviors and help people understand and deal directly with possible conflict. A leader can ask for observation without judgment, posing evocative comments such as, "What's really going on here?" or "How well are we working together on this?" can open dialogue that helps people uncover unproductive behaviors. A leader with high EQ will let people express themselves and participate in what's going on, and then employees can move beyond anger and worry and work together. When there are problems, brainstorming and solving the problems as group channels energy and facilitates buy-in. When you share information about why tough choices are needed, employees will cooperate and try to make changes work. Participation builds self-confidence, loyalty, and motivation by empowering people to be part of the solution. A final technique for effective facilitation is to keep people informed about good and bad news. In this way, you build trust and it enhances motivation. Keep them in the loop about how their work fits with the organization's goals, about decisions made by upper management, and of course, about their personal progress. When providing such feedback, make sure it's accurate, positive, clear, and objective. Here are some examples of how a leader might use facilitating techniques in a review context with the individual employee. Use evocative comments. Evocative comments focus attention on inconsistencies, which can be ideal in a review situation. The leader tells the employee, "The team charter says the team is self-directed, but you're requiring my input into every decision, and you don't seem to be fully invested in this task." The leader uses evocative comments to explore underlying reasons for behavior. He might ask the employee, "Could your work delays be happening because you're upset about the layoffs?" Let people express themselves and participate. The leader has been told to cut his department expenses by 8%. In the review, he talks to the employees honestly, saying, "This is the situation. What do you think we can do to decrease expenses?" Well, emotions and fear will no doubt come to the surface. The worker will be participating in shaping her future. As a result, she'll have less resistance to change, less anger, and more motivation. Keep people informed. The employee's current work merits a less than stellar job review. He can't improve unless he knows what he is doing wrong, but the feedback needs to be given in a way that motivates and inspires, and doesn't discourage or anger him. The leader has made notes in advance of the meeting about what the employee does well and compliments him on that. She's accurate, clear, and not judgmental when she says, "This is what I need from you." She never uses phrases like, "You're irresponsible." She only says, "You're not meeting your commitments." You're a manager with a problem. The organization has just been downsized and roles and responsibilities are shifting. Your project team is anxious and on edge, and 2 of the members are especially at odds and not as productive as usual. Which responses show emotional intelligence in facilitating? This activity gives you an opportunity to plan ways to use the facilitating techniques to improve your ability to recognize how to meet the needs of others and then to meet those needs. Take a few moments to complete the attached Preparing to Facilitate activity guide. Take a moment to complete the Responding to Different Emotional States activity guide. This activity gives you an opportunity to learn how to interpret the nonverbal behaviors associated with different emotional states to gain insight into how people are reacting to you and to what is being communicated. It also enables you to plan an appropriate response to use the next time you encounter each behavior. At this point, we're going to quickly review the topics and objectives covered. The first module, Introduction to Emotional Intelligence, the objectives were to recognize why emotional intelligence is important in the workplace and to match emotional intelligence competencies to their associated domains. The second module, Improving Perception Competencies, objectives were to recognize which perception competencies need improvement and recommend techniques for cultivating them in a given situation. And for the third module, Using Self-Management and Social Skills, the objectives were to choose actions that demonstrate emotional intelligence in controlling emotions and recognize actions that demonstrate emotional intelligence in facilitating. Which part of this content was the most interesting to you? Do you see opportunities for applying this content in the near future? If so, where and when? If you have additional comments or insight, please feel free to pass that information along in your final review assessment. Thank you for your time and attention during this 3-part series for Leading with Emotional Intelligence.